Hello and welcome to the Winging It Travel Podcast YouTube channel. Join me on my journey as I travel across the world, seeking out adventures, meeting new people and trying out new things. Hello and welcome to this week's episode. We are covering days 92 to 96, and that is leaving Harris Beach State Park and going all the way up to the north of Oregon to Astoria. So we left Harris Beach and made our way to Sunset Beach, and the first stop on the way was Whales Head Viewpoint. I would recommend this stop off because this is a little tricky in terms of getting down to the beach. It's about a 10-15 minute walk and it's steep. You park your car up, you head down, the classic Oregon look. Hazy sea air, clean sand, no one there, juts of rock in the sea. You put Oregon coastline in Google, this is what's going to come up. It's a bit like Harris Beach, just idyllic. And there's no one there. I know this is probably about 19, 20 degrees, so it's fairly mild. It's not cold, but this is a fantastic stop-off point on the 101, and there's another classic beach scene in Oregon. This road is spectacular. There's forever viewpoints to stop off and just take a photo. As far as the eye can see, just scenery that goes on forever past the horizon. Then we got to Gold Beach, and we stopped off at Gold Beach Coffee, Books and Art. The weird quirk in there is they had orange twirls for, I think, 75 cents each. And we filled up the car with twirls and headed to Bandon and another coffee stop called Warehouse Coffee Cafe. Slightly off the main road, a huge space, great coffee as always on this North American trip. The bagel and cream cheese is to die for, and it's right by the harbour, not too far, maybe 5 minutes drive, free parking, great coffee, great bagel. Starting to rain quite heavy at this point. Drove up to Sunset Bay Campground. Now for this campground and for a lot of state parks, I would advise booking online. They're about $19 to $21 a night, got all the facilities like shower, toilet, firewood as well. But this one had no one at the front desk as you drive in. It's just an empty sort of barrier really. And we weren't sure how to do it, but there was people working there and volunteering there, so we had to go and ask like, what's the go? And they told us to book online. Now the problem with this place is there's no signal. The only signal we could find is right at the start of the campsite. As you drive in, there's a bit of signal there, so we have to park the car, kind of reserve one parking in a campsite, all the way to the front, book online, and then walk all the way back. Pretty comfortable facilities. We had a nice little area under the tree. We didn't get totally soaked.
Having fun.
The next day, driving up towards Coos Bay and Dune City, that area. It's a slow day really. Got to Coos Bay to go for a coffee and bagel at Cafe 101. I actually quite liked the vibe in there. Enjoyed the coffee. Maybe a bit of a Christian vibe by some of the music that was being played. It made sort of more musing by two old ladies behind us gossiping about their lives. Quite an interesting conversation that. After the stop off, we did make our way up to Dune City. It is a city with dunes in it. It's quite a unique city in that sense. And we stopped off, walked around, got some photos of dunes. Very interesting. And then our campsite for the night for this day is Jesse M. Honeyman Memorial State Park. Top tip here, if you're going along the west coast, especially Oregon, make use of the state parks. But they're just great facilities, quite basic, enough space, quiet, they're decent. Day 94, we're heading up to one of the main areas of our trip, basically heading towards Cannon Beach. But on this day, we're going to check out Thor's Well, Newport, in the Haddam State Park. A stunning drive up. I can't recommend this drive enough. Just unreal views every kilometre you go up. But the first place we want to see was Thor's Well. Now, if you pop that into Google, you're going to see these amazing photos of basically this hole in the ground that looks like a well, and the water from the waves gets crashed into it, and then it sort of palms a little bit and all sort of filters down into the well. That is true, but it is hard to see. You have to really find it out. When I went there, I thought it was going to be this huge hole that you can see from the trail, but it's actually needed pointed out to you. There's no real signage to say where it is, and it's not as obvious as you think, but it's definitely interesting to go and see that. After that, we needed a coffee, so I went to White Rabbit Espresso in Newport. Now, Newport is a classic sunshine town. Yeah, it's decent vibe, good weather, along the coast. It's got that sort of holiday feel, I think. That's my vibe. White Rabbit Espresso was a great stop off, very comfortable couch. Coffee was great and much needed Wi-Fi at this point. Our phones on the Verizon have run out and we have no data, so we're kind of itching for Wi-Fi. Then we popped off to Lincoln City, further up the 101 to a cafe called Salt. The same sort of thing, great vibe, nice couches, good coffee. And we were going to stay at a Safeway to save on money. Now, the problem with the 101 in the Oregon coast is you go on Eye of the Lander, there just isn't many places to stay for free. If you're self-contained, you can probably just go off on the road and stay somewhere. But for a campervan like ours, we kind of need somewhere semi-official. When we parked there, we got our shopping done, and there's just locals maybe hanging around. Just didn't feel like maybe I want to stay there overnight. So we decided to pay for another 2 nights, and that was at Nehalem State Park, which is a bit further up, and that's going to be our base for Cannon Beach. It's about $20 a night. Huge campsite. It's got its own beach. It's a bit out of the way. If you put Nehalem State Park in Google, it kind of looks to the left like a jut out into the ocean. It is a bit like that, but very quiet, deer about as well. All the facilities. Quite enjoyed the vibe there, and I was very comfortable for the first night. Day 95 is one of the main places to see on our trip, and that's Cannon Beach. We've all seen the photos and the social media clips. The classic one, if you put it in Google or Instagram, is someone walks down the path, there's a house to your left, nice little bit of fence, and it just opens up into the Haystack Rock. But first of all, glorious day. About nearly 30 degrees this day, so a unique day in that sense. To the point we're worried that the campervan's going to be too warm, back in those days again. But there's free parking in Cannon Beach. You might have to walk into the centre a bit more. First place that I recommend for a great coffee is Insomnia Coffee. They have a nice little cafe right by the beach, and they're the only ones open on a Sunday actually, so popped in there, had a coffee to get filled up for the day. And I love walking around Cannon Beach. It's a bit like Venice Beach vibes, if you like, in LA. Clean, quaint, lots of independent shops, good vibe, and it's right by the beach. You can hear the waves. It really is one of those towns that's sensational, really. We walked around, got a cake, went to a few yarn stores, got a bagel, and then walked onto the beach. Now, I keep mentioning the beaches in Oregon are amazing, and they are. Cannon Beach kind of typifies the scene, where the beach goes on forever. It's a huge beach, and it goes all the way out for miles, and the squeaky sound of the sand just makes it that idyllic place to sit there, have a cup of tea and admire the view. And in the distance you can see Haystack Rock. Again, it's got that sort of hazy feel to it. We hung around there, got some photos, got some videos, and walked all the way back to Haystack Rock. Iconic, very popular site this. Loved getting the photos of that. Then we sat down on the beach and enjoyed ourselves. But actually it was a bit too hot, so we had to go out to a brewery. But before the brewery that we went to, level of Haystack Rock is that area where you go up the steps to basically someone's, almost like an alleyway through two houses. And if you want to get the classic video of that, go up the stairs, go sort of towards the road, then walk back down on yourself. Get that iconic video that you need for Oregon coast. Because the sun was beating down on us quite a bit, we walked back up those steps, back onto the road, and went to a brewery called Pelican Brewing Company. They do beer and fries, nice little setting, very busy. And then drove back to camp, which is about a 20-minute drive from there, and had a second night at the campsite. This is a patron shout out to Laura from the Swamp Soup Stickers, who has contributed £5 to the podcast on my Patreon. Thank you so much for your support. Really appreciate it, and it helps the podcast to keep going in the future. If you're interested, head to the show notes where you'll find a link to my Patreon. The website address is patreon.com/Winging It Travel Podcast. For £5 English, you will receive some trendy stickers from myself in the post, a shout out on each episode, and also my digital travel planner by email. Thank you for your support. And Cannon Beach is a must on the west coast. I can see why people go there all the time. I say it's probably about an hour and a half from Portland if you're based there, and it's right on the 101, an amazing beach, and just somewhere you want to hang out in the summer especially. Even in the off season when it's not too busy. I just love to go back. What a place. Then we're going to finish this episode on day 96. We're driving up to Astoria, which is kind of the last town in Oregon before we cross the bridge into Washington State. Another glorious day, left Nehalem Park, and we wanted to go and check the Astoria town out. We had to do some admin, some washing there. Then we went into town to a couple of cafes, got a couple of recommendations for you. Rusty Cup, amazing bagel. How many great bagels we're having. Bagel and cream cheese, coffee, no better combo. But they don't have any toilets. Now the one problem with Astoria is toilets. They have a public toilet, they have one that I could find. I was desperate, I needed to go. So I was running around town trying to find somewhere. Hotel signs have got no entry for public toilets, interesting. So I found the public toilet and someone's in there for ages. So I went back, Went back again. Then I realised that there's some people just doing drugs in there, unfortunately. Bottles on the floor, syringes, wasn't a nice little sight to see. So my only advice is, when you get a rusty cup, make sure you don't need a toilet. Then we walked around Astoria for another coffee because I needed to go to the toilet desperately. And we found one at Blue Scorcher, which is a great cafe for food, coffee, and a toilet. Can't believe I'm saying that. But Astoria, I loved it. Down the front, they have like this little iconic train. I think it actually works to transport people from one part of Astoria to another. It's not a huge place. It's almost like a toy train. But you can walk down there and take it. And Astoria is quite historic. Maybe it's run down a little bit now, but I quite like the vibe, actually. And we decided in Blue Scorcher that what's the point hanging around in Astoria? We're not going to stay here. Let's get all the way up to Ocean City, which is in Washington. When you cross from Astoria over to Washington State, it's a huge bridge. I think it's about 4 miles long. Massive bridge, great scenery. This day, clear blue sky, you can see left, right and centre. And we're going into Washington State, which is basically the last place we're going to go to before back to Vancouver. On the left hand side of that state is Ocean City. Again, they have a state park, $20 a night, very comfortable. Ocean City's got a little bit going on, but I'll go into that into the next episode. That's the penultimate episode of this road trip USA. Next one's just going to be Washington State before we head back to Vancouver. And I look forward to wrapping up this iconic trip. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time. Please follow and subscribe on my YouTube channel today, and please rate and review the podcast on any podcast platform that you use. Thank you.